From the Open Season Property Studio, welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where every single Monday at lunchtime we enjoy and celebrate the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because this is the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network. Some of you are listening to SuperTalk Outdoors at supertalk.fm, Amazon Alexa, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, or on SuperTalk TV at C-Spire TV. Some of you are also watching on social media or YouTube, Facebook, or your favorite podcast. We appreciate you joining us. You know, we try to be there wherever, whenever you want to engage in the show, and we love the fact that so many people are engaging on so many different platforms, but radio is king. It always has been, and it always will. Listen, it's July the 1st, 2024 for the SuperTalk Outdoors audience. And by the way, this is going to play again. This is Monday, but it's going to play again on Thursday for the Ricky Mathews show, because it's going to be a special show. I'm actually going to be out west, and so we're going to have kind of a special reshowing of this show, and I think you'll understand why when we get into it here in just a second. Listen, as at the time we're recording this, it has not been announced yet by Governor Tate Reeves, but I am aware that he has made his selection on who the two new commissioners are going to be for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Commission. I know one of them very well. I know the other one through several people who I have tremendous respect for. If it's the two that I've heard, they're going to be terrific representatives to join the commission. And by the time this airs, we may know who, publicly know who they are. I don't want to get ahead of the governor on it, because if for some reason I have a name or both names wrong, you don't want to do that. So we'll let him make the announcement, and then we'll talk about my impressions of them, and we'll do that a week from today, and then we'll have them join me. We'll have them join me and tell their story. So I'm looking forward to that. Listen, today, as I mentioned, it's going to be a special show. I've had the opportunity over the last 2 or 3 years to get to know Cuz Strickland really well from Mossy Oak. I really enjoy him being on the show. We've talked about so many different things. I've joined him on his Fistful of Dirt podcast before. I enjoy that podcast. It's a wide range of guests that he has. But there was one show that he had that really caught my attention. Well, actually, there were two. One when he had his wife and daughter on with him, and we're actually going to replicate that show at some point in the future. But the other one is when he had his grandson, Cranky. His real name is Ben Ellis, but everybody knows him as Cranky. And it was called The World According to Cranky. And I was very interested to understand, what is this? So about 2 years ago, they did it. And, man, what a special show it was. This young man with this old soul, and the way he tells stories and the way he thinks about the outdoors and family and all of that, I was touched by it, and immediately started to have conversations with Cuz about getting him and Cranky on to join me at some point in the future. And today is the day, and I'm so thrilled to be able to say that Cuz Strickland and Cranky, Ben Ellis, is joining me today for a special show. How you guys doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. He's Friday. He gets Fridays off or whatever from he's moved up to junior high football, and they practice in the mornings. But Fridays his off day, and he's an early riser. He was up at our house at 6:20 this morning. But it's summer's a good time, ain't it, Crank?
Yes, sir. It is.
Hey, listen, Cuz you do the same with your grandkids as I do with mine. Like, for example, Liam, who's only 4 years old, he'll say, "Papa, where's your boat?" And we were getting at service, and I say, "You mean where's our boat? That boat's your boat too." But when you think about the farm, that farm is Cranky's farm too, and the other two grandchildren as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I tell them that all the time, and it's so special. I got a text from my oldest grandchild, my Avery. She's over at Mississippi State, and she sent me a text just out of the blue. "Pop, can I bring so and so out to the 4th of July?" And I always answer the same way, of course. And I love that they're comfortable out here, and we're not trying to be the cool grandparents. We just try to, put things in place for them, let them have fun. The boys may go fishing. Avery will sit around by the pool with the ladies, and just those are the fondest memories ever for me, and I know you're the same way.
Oh, I am. You know, Cranky, just coming to you for a second. One of the things I say is a family who hunts together and fishes together stays together. But your whole life is centered around the outdoors, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
So tell me, what is that like for you?
I love it. It connects you with the world, and you get to appreciate everything. And
Yeah.
yes, sir.
You know what was interesting watching? We'll come back to this in a second, but I'll mention it now. But we'll get into more detail here in a second. But one of the things I talk about on this show is the importance of trapping. You know, especially if you want to have turkeys, the importance of trapping and the importance of control burns and all of that. And one of the things that was amazing to me is when you started trapping, you learned from a master how to trap. And once you and your brother Matt started to have your competitions, see who could trap the most, you started to see within a year, you started to see a pretty major difference in the turkey population, didn't you?
Yes, sir. It happened so quick. And then now when we started trapping, you start to catch less and less and you start seeing way more turkeys and just nest animals in general because you've gotten rid of all the nest raiders. So.
Yeah, the nest raiders are a major problem, and we don't fully appreciate that. For example, when we are running cameras, we'll put a camera from time to time out, and man, the amount of we at least 3 separate farms up in the Mississippi Delta, and some are just absolutely inundated with raccoons. I mean, they're everywhere. But if you don't control that raccoon population, they'll get out of hand quick, and you won't see any turkeys, will you?
You won't. That was our issue at first. Is we trapped for a little bit, and then we didn't really have any results, and then we had a professional come out and teach us how, and we started doing it within a year. We have all kinds of turkeys and stuff, and we can go turkey hunting.
Hey, you ain't supposed to be saying that kind of stuff. Rick, you got him too comfortable now. Now we were Alan Probst. He's got the company North American Trapper, and he came out here because I was helping him do some TV stuff, but he showed the guy some tips. And after that, Cranky and his brother both, they had their own trap line. And
yeah, isn't that something?
I've lost all my seats. I've lost my seat in the ATV. I lost my seat in the tractor, and couldn't be happier about it because they do their own thing.
But Cranky, what was interesting on the World According to Cranky podcast that you did with your grandfather, the Fistful of Dirt, what was interesting is that you were really into it then, and that's been a couple of years ago. Do you still have as much enjoyment with it as you did back then today?
Yes, sir. I love trapping. It's really fun. It gives you something to do after deer season and get you ready for turkey season.
Yeah, you actually described it as even funner than hunting.
Yes, sir.
I found that very interesting. What's also been interesting is watching kind of the competition between you and your brothers, not just with trapping, but with hunting. You for a long time sort of had a good reputation for being a good deer hunter. Even as a young guy, you were just lucky, and you knew it. And Matt, your brother, he had a reputation for being a good turkey hunter. Has any of that changed over the last couple of years?
No, sir, it hasn't.
I wonder what's causing that.
I don't know.
Cranky said he's killed several deer, a bunch of deer, and he's killed a couple of really nice ones. And we were turkey hunting one day, coming out defeated again. He said, "Pop, this turkey hunting just comes hard to me." And I was like, "Hey, it ain't just you, you know." Older brother always seems like he gets the choice of the best spots or whatever, but Cranky hangs in there with them. He likes it all. They know how to do it all, and that's been fun to watch.
So, Cranky, do me a favor. Tell me about your family.
We all hunt. We love it. Most of us are great turkey hunters. I don't know about me. I'm pretty good at it. It's just I'm not the best.
Tell him about your dad and what he does.
He's like the logistics of the farm. He knows everything he could about growing crops and all that, and he helps the animals get healthy and all that.
And your mom?
Oh, she's also a great turkey hunter. She manages all the media and stuff too.
Yeah, she does a great job producing the Fistful of Dirt podcast, and she's become quite a personality herself. People know who your mother is. That's kind of cool, isn't it?
It is.
And Big Brother, tell him about Matt. What he's got going on. He's doing MMA.
Yeah, he's been doing MMA for the past couple months. He
Wow.
could kill a turkey in the Walmart parking lot.
I know that'd be the case. Hey, listen, when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Cuz Strickland and his grandson, Cranky. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to SuperTalk Outdoors. And, of course, as I mentioned, we're going to be replaying this on the Ricky Mathews show as well. But I'm thrilled to be in the Open Season Property Studio. You know, they're a full-service real estate company with a team approach philosophy that ensures your needs are the highest priority, whether it's rural land sales, residential, or commercial properties. Open Season Properties markets and sells real estate in Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia, and they're dedicated to the development of long-term client relationships and unwavering commitment to service. Go to openseasonproperties.com to learn more. Now let's continue our conversation with Cuz Strickland from Mossy Oak. You know him well, and his grandson Cranky. For anyone who pays attention to Cuz 411 on YouTube or to the podcast Fistful of Dirt, you know Cranky because he's kind of developed his following as well. What do you think about that, Cranky? What do you think about when you go somewhere with your grandfather, whether it's a convention or whatever it might be, and people know who you are? Is that weird to you?
I've gotten used to it at this point, but I think it's pretty cool. You know, something.
Tell them about those guys hijacking you up in Illinois when we went turkey hunting. Remember when it was so cold?
Yes, sir.
Tell them what happened.
I mean, we ended up, we were hunting in Illinois, and we were,
Went to the cafe.
Yes, sir. And we were it was actually a Waffle House.
Yeah.
We went to a Waffle House, and we walked in there, and everybody just started noticing me. Like one guy said it, and then it was just everybody started doing it, and Pop was just sitting in the back, proud.
I've never enjoyed anything so much in my life. We walked in, some guy said, "Is that Cranky?" And I was over there, eating cold eggs, and they were holding him up on their shoulders, taking pictures. And I told my wife, that may be the coolest thing that's ever happened, but he handles it well. And if you get on TV or whatever, people feel like they know you. And I've taught them all. I was like, look, if it's important to them, it's important to you. So just go with the flow.
You never know. You never know. Like I'll tell you, give you a quick example of that. I was at the SuperTalk had a live remote at the Mississippi Municipal League meeting, like 2,500, 3,000 mayors and aldermen from all across the state came there at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum, and we had a live remote from there. And before we got started, a really nice gentleman came up to me, and he said, "Hey, I want to introduce myself. I'm an alderman in Horn Lake, Mississippi, and I listen to your show every day." And I'm like, "Now, why would you listen to my show? I mean, it's a coast show." He said, "That's how I learn what's going on the coast. I love the coast, and I listen to your show." You just never know. You touch people in ways you don't know, and that's what I tell you. One of the things I've come to really appreciate is living in the moment and living by example and not dropping your guard, because you never know who's going to be paying attention to you. Do your cuz?
No, it's very important, and what you say and what you post and what you do matters. I learned that a long time ago on when our show Hunting the Country was on TNN, which back in the day that was such a big deal. And we would, we did shows with whatever, out here and out there. And the highest rated show we ever had was with a little 9-year-old kid who missed a deer about that big, but he got buck fever, and the ratings were through the roof. And Toxie's like, well, that could have been a coincidence. So I inserted it the next year. Same thing. The ratings went through the roof, and it just proved to me content matters. No matter what your time slot is, no matter what it is, you got to keep doing stuff that's interesting. Talk about something that relates to people, and it's not rocket science. And that's why I've never been shy to put any of those grandkids on, TV. And somebody, no, I don't put them on social media. Well, that's your choice. There's lots of kids out there, and Cranky relates to the kids and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it matters.
Yeah. No, what's interesting though. What's interesting is, take the sort of the public attention aside for a second and just think about life on the farm and the opportunities to go hunting together and learning life lessons and all that's great by itself. But in a way though, being able to add to that another dimension, this public recognition, like for example, Cranky, I wonder if you realize, and be interested to know what you think about this, that because people know who you are, especially in the outdoors community, especially people who follow Cuz, do you feel a burden in a way? Does it make you be a little more careful with what you do and recognizing that people are paying attention to you? Do you feel a need to leave a positive example? Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am. I'm really just being myself most of the time.
Yeah. But what's interesting about that though is that's a gift to you to do that, because in the world we're in today, people don't think twice, unfortunately, too often about what they might post on social media or whatever they might do. You'll have maybe for the rest of your life. It'd be interesting to see where you go with your life and career. But certainly during your formative years, the next several years, this public awareness, people are going to be watching you, and young people are going to be watching you, and they're going to wonder, what would Cranky do? It's interesting that people think that way. How old are you right now?
I'm currently 12.
Currently 12 years old. So at 12 years old, you're inspiring people with your old soul. That's an amazing thing to be able to say about a young person, and to be someone who is setting a positive stage for others to watch. There's a lot of responsibility that goes with that. You realize that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I just think that's cool. Hey, you mentioned Waffle House. My sons and I, when we would have a successful hunt, that's the first place we'd go, to Waffle House. And I remember you said it's all good now. We're going to Waffle House. That means something good happened out in the hunting community. But what a great way to end your hunt, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so let's go ahead, Cuz.
And here has a picture of us in a booth down there. I was their first customer. So Waffle House is a very, very special place to us. And any turkey hunt that ends with a trip there is very successful.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I think one of the funnest stories you tell is about going down to that 80 acres, that swampy 80 acres of pine forest, and pursuing the devil turkey. You named it the devil. And you had a chance to go hunt other places, but you stayed there on that turkey. What was it? And you how old were you? 9 or 10 years old?
I think I was smaller than that.
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
And you were still pursuing it like with a vengeance.
Yes, sir, I was.
Well, talk to me about that. What was it about the devil turkey that got you?
I don't remember. I just had a drive to get it. After it had tricked me so many times, I was just like, I got to get this turkey.
One of the interesting things that you learned from your grandpa during that process was when to call and when not to call. That devil turkey taught you a lot about that, didn't it?
It did.
So tell a little bit about that, about the calling process that you went through, what you learned about that.
If you don't call enough, they're going to gobble once and then just kind of forget about you. If you do it too much, they're just not going to gobble at all. But if you get it that perfect amount, they'll gobble a little bit, but they'll come right at you.
So you have to be very aware of that, don't you?
Yes, sir, you do.
We ended up just sitting on him, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, I remember you did something. You did some call, something. So you said, we did do something, but at the end of the day, it was about knowing when not to call when you finally got the devil turkey.
Yes, sir.
We set him up in a ground blind, and we called one time we got there, and it took a couple of hours, and they kind of showed up. It was a clean ambush, but an ambush, no doubt. But Cranky, I would say, look, let's leave this thing alone, because he stayed in this same block of woods. And I said, we can go down to Toxie's place. We can go to Bent Creek. Now, I want to hunt the devil turkey, and that was a lot, because I mean, all his little buddies were turkey hunting and all that. And that told me a lot about his stick-to-itness. And but I don't know if you saw the video, but after he shot him, he just broke down. I think everybody did. And his mom asked him, "Are you okay?" Yeah. He said, "Yeah, I'm just so happy."
I think that's so cool.
I was.
So you've had some shaky moments with buck fever and whatever else you want to call it. You have reacted just like a lot of people do. It never gets old for you, does it?
No, sir, it doesn't.
You know, one of the things I enjoyed about you is that while you went after the devil turkey because that particular turkey you wanted to get it, you still enjoy experiencing new ground. What is it about that really appeals to you? Actually, we're getting close to the end of the segment, but you can start the answer and then we'll finish on the other side. What is it about new ground that appeals to you?
I just love getting to see the land and get to know the world more, getting to explore turkey hunting and all that.
Love a road trip, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. Hey, when we get back on the other side, we'll actually talk about some of the places you've been and what was special about it to you. We'll continue our conversation after this break with Cuz Strickland and his grandson, Cranky. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Open Season Property Studio. Listen, one of our great sponsors is Mississippi Land Bank. So if you're looking to purchase the perfect piece of hunting property, upgrade your farm equipment, or have you been dreaming of owning your slice of heaven out in the country, look no further than Mississippi Land Bank for your financing needs. For more than 100 years, farming families and landowners in North Mississippi have turned to Mississippi Land Bank, just like my friends did, for all kinds of financial solutions, whether it's for land, equipment, and livestock. For more information, visit mslandbank.com or go by and see one of their friendly staff at any of their offices. Mississippi Land Bank, thrilled to have them as a sponsor. Now let's get back to my friend's Cuz Strickland and his grandson, Cranky. And Cranky, one of the interesting things, you mentioned this particular food plot where you killed the devil turkey. You've had some good luck there just in general, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I have.
What have you killed on that food plot?
Well, actually, that food plot's across the canal on another guy's place, but he's got a special food plot up here. We call it Toby's. Tell them about the first deer you killed on Toby's.
Well, the first deer was named Craig, and we don't know how it got that name. I forgot. You
gave it to him.
And it was kind of like the devil turkey. It was one of those things that I just kept going over and over. And I'm pretty sure I killed a different deer, in between going to find it. And eventually I was asleep, and it walked out one time, and I was asleep, and it just walked back, and it just went back into the woods. But the same hunt, I was still asleep, and it walked out, and Pop just woke me up, and then I ended up, it was only 5 yards from the blind too, so it was pretty close. I'm surprised I didn't spook it with my snoring. So
I heard your loud snore.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
So tell me about Craig.
It was just a buck that you never see on our place. It was a big old 12-point buck. And I mean, it's hanging up on the wall now. So
I remember listen on your grandfather's Cuz 411 show. It had you were hunting with your dad, and I think it was a 6-point or 7-point, maybe a small 8-point. And I never will forget it. It came out, and you didn't have a good shot at it, but you lined up on it, and your dad said, you don't have a broadside shot, don't shoot. And it walked back into the woods, and you kept saying, man, you should have let me shoot. You should have let me shoot. You remember that?
I do.
Of course, then it came back out, didn't it?
It did.
So it was just interesting watching you and your dad go back and forth. But those are some great memories. Look, some of my best memories with my sons, Cranky, were not involved in actually shooting something. I mean, just being out in the woods with them. You have the same kind of feeling, don't you?
Yes, sir.
The other thing is you like snacks.
I do.
What do you bring out into the blind with you?
What was your lucky snack forever?
Well, the lucky snack for getting the double turkey was the Skittles.
A Skittle. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I made him do a vest dump one time where he emptied his turkey vest, and he had like one call and a pair of gloves, whatever, and had like 6 different kind of snacks stuck in there. And look, I always let them do whatever makes it fun for them. That's where some grown-ups go kind of off the rails a little bit. They got to remember it's not it's their kids' hunt, not theirs.
Yeah.
That's why hop up a blind or sit in the house. Let them have fun. Don't put too much pressure on them. And it's kind of work with them. I came home the other day. They were all down there fishing, had the boat out by themselves, tooling around. And it's like, that's pretty cool. Let them boys be boys.
No, there's no doubt. Hey, so Cranky, I'm curious about something. When did you realize that your grandfather was more than just your grandfather?
Probably about the time when we were hunting the double turkey. About around then.
So, if you're with some of your friends on the football team, and they say, "Who's your granddad?" How do you talk about him?
Like anybody would. He's my granddad and takes me hunting and fishing all the time.
Yeah.
So, are people curious about him being famous in the outdoor community?
Yes, sir. Some people are.
And tell me about those conversations.
I mean, they'll just ask questions. Sometimes it ends up with me signing something.
And
how does that make you feel?
Happy, Ricky, I promise you. This is the easiest place on the planet to stay humble. We were at the NWTF one time, and I was sitting with like Will and Toxie or something like that. We were signing hats, and Cranky was there. And my wife was sitting there, and the line was long when they got those. She looked up at me. She said, "Man, these people need to get out more if they think y'all are a big deal." And look, we stress how to treat people. Nobody expects special treatment, and all that. And it's been good for them having to interact with folks. I've seen Cranky last year at NWTF. Cranky signed, I'll promise you, way more hats than I did. And people were asking him to come to their booth. Remember, you went to the Trapper's booth? Mm-hmm. How many hats did you sign there, you think?
I couldn't count. It was so many.
But it's that part of it's fun. And if it makes somebody happy or smile, then it's worth all the effort. But we're not making an extra effort to make them famous. They're just hanging out with me, and it happens to be cameras involved sometimes.
Well, what makes it work as it relates to Cranky? And I love the other grandsons represent themselves well in the videos. What's interesting about Cranky is not just that he's young and wise. It's this old soul thing that we were talking about before we started the show. Hey, when someone calls you an old soul, what does that mean to you, Cranky? What do you think they're saying?
I don't know. It's like saying I'm like the older generations, I guess. I mean, like an old person in a little body, I guess.
Tell them what you did this morning. What was your routine?
Woke up super early. I came up here and...
How'd you get up here?
I drove up here on the Ranger.
By yourself?
Yes, sir.
Knocked on the door, making sure he's an old soul. He goes to bed early and gets up early, and nothing wrong with that. But I'll tell you this, Cranky does not care what everybody thinks, and he will let you know what's on his mind. And I bet you were just like that when you were his age.
I was really independent, really independent. I still am.
Yeah,
I still am. But, and I had to be careful. I don't want to make everybody mad because I've made an observation that's very correct. What I've observed is very correct, but it might make a few people mad. So have you learned to bite your tongue, Cranky?
Yes, sir. I have sometimes.
My dad used to tell me this, the famous thing my dad used to tell me, God rest his soul, but he used to say, he called me Bubba. That's what my family calls me, Bubba. And they said, Bubba, you need to bite your tongue and let the blood trickle. And that was it. That was it. And then as time would go, I would be saying something. He'd look at me and say, let the blood trickle. And he's telling me to bite my tongue. So, yeah, I know what it's like.
I played golf yesterday with Cranky's principal from Oak Hill Academy out there, Phil Ferguson. What a great man he is. But we had a Cranky conversation. He said, "Cuz I've never seen anybody like him. This guy's been in education his whole life." He said, "Cranky's the most matter of fact person I've ever been around." He said, if he was in the midst of some boys and they were misbehaving or whatever a little bit, he said, I was in it. And take whatever's coming. But it's like, that's pretty cool. And you could see that when he was young. And look, like I said, all my grandkids, yours too, are just super human beings. But that's on their parents. They've just raised them right. And that's the most important calling to me anybody has. So when you have a kid, that taking care of them is number one.
Cranky, here's what I would tell my sons, and when we would be, hunting together, or whether we'd be 100 miles offshore in the boat, and they would do something that might be a little bit dangerous, I'd say, don't do that. Don't do that, because when you're 100 miles offshore, oftentimes you don't get a second chance. When you've got a gun in your hand or a bow in your hand, it's not like you got a chance to make a mistake. I mean, you get one chance to be safety conscious. And so what's unique about you is that you seem to appreciate. See, it's hard to teach responsibility. People eventually, as they get older, they get it. It's rare for young people at your age, at the age that you were at, to have kind of the responsibility, for example, the tracking, being able to go do the tracking on your own the way you've been able to do it. That's very special. Do you realize that?
Yes, sir, I do. I mean,
what guides you in that?
I mean, been taught by good people.
Well, that's got to make your mother, who I know is sitting there, and I know it makes your daddy and your grandfather super proud to hear you say that. Hey, when we get back on the other side, we'll continue in the last segment with Cuz Strickland from Mossy Oak and my new friend Cranky. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to SuperTalk Outdoors from the open season property studio, also from the Citizens Bank studio, because this is going to be replaying on the Ricky Mathews show. It's a special show, and I'm sure you understand that by now. Hey, listen, no matter what kind of hunting you're into, whether you're looking for 40 acres or 4,000 acres, if you are looking to buy land, you need someone you can trust. He's a hunting land hunter. Call Lake Pickle from Open Season Properties at 601-750-2487. Lake is a terrific leader in Mississippi, and we're thrilled to have him associated with the show. Hey, today's a special show. If you follow Cuz Strickland from Mossy Oak on his Fistful of Dirt podcast, or if you follow him on YouTube at Cuz411, you just and other podcasts for that matter, you have got to have run across Cranky at some point. This young old soul and his grandson Ben Ellis. Everyone knows him as Cranky. So it's been a fun show today, getting to know Cranky. Hey, one thing I promised Cranky before we went to that last segment was you had the opportunity actually to enjoy other areas. And one of the things you said you enjoy is going to new places that you've never been before and having a sense of that. What's one that really stands out to you?
Texas, I mean, that's probably my favorite place. First of all, the food is the best. I mean, there's all kinds, but the number one that stood out for me is Pop was taking us there, and we went on like an hour detour to go here, and he was taking us somewhere called the Herd Burger. He said it'll be the best burger you'll ever have. And we get there, and it's like, it doesn't even look like a burger place. It's like, it looks like somebody's house. And we get there, and it's like these guys, and it's just like, you can tell it's a bunch of hunters in there. And it's not like somewhere where you can order some special burger. It's only cheese or no cheese, and that's about it. And you order a burger, and I mean, there's nowhere to sit there. You gotta take it with you, but it is the best burger I've ever had. It's called the Herd Burger.
The Herd Burger, yeah.
Yep, since 1910. What about the terrain out there and how hard you had to hunt?
I mean, I love the terrain, but it made it a little bit difficult. I mean, where we were, it was all flat, and this one guy, he was like riding us around. We were scoping out the place, and he took us to the top of what normally would be a little hill, but there it was like a mountain. And we get to the top, and you could just see for miles and miles because it was so flat there, which I like. And
did you have success?
We did.
Last minute of the day, wasn't it?
It was the coolest turkey hunt too.
Tell them what happened.
We were under like this big old live oak. We were under it, and it was like we were about to leave, and we finally have a turkey gobble, and it's way behind us. And then they just come running up behind us, and I mean, you could start like they were getting so close to where you could hear their footsteps almost. Then it got to where you could hear them drumming, and I've never been so close. Like Pop was sitting behind us; he was the closest to them because they ran like maybe like 4 yards from our right, and he could have reached out and grabbed one if he wanted to, but I guess they didn't exactly hear where our calls were because it was so far away. And they were running like they passed us and were just running out in front of us. And our guide was telling me, it was like, now's your chance, you got to shoot. And I ended up getting one.
That's so exciting, man. Were you shaking?
I was. And it was like, I've never been so close to a live turkey before.
So yeah, that to hear those sounds, the sounds and the sights and the kind of the new terrain, and it's kind of an overwhelming feeling, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
So where do you want to go next?
I don't know. We got to get our Miriam, So probably like where is it? Nebraska, that's right.
Trying to put that hunt together. All three of the boys need a Miriam, and I'm putting that squarely on the shoulders of Jim Kewen, hopefully next year. And so they'll have their Grand Slam. They all got Easterns, and they're Florida, Turkey, and a Rio. So Cranky ain't scared of a road trip. I said, now look, I'm going to take all of y'all. We may not be able to fly. That's a lot of money. Cranky said, get a minivan. I'm in.
And that to Texas, where y'all go, it's like 14-hour drive, right?
It is. It's
2 days.
It's 14 hours to where we go in Texas. A little further than that from Nebraska. It's about 16 to where we go out there. But that's number one on my bucket list now is to get all of them, including him and Miriam, so they'll at least have the Grand Slam. Now we're not going to South America to chase that whatever that oscillated thing is, which I personally don't even think's a turkey. It's more like a peacock. But if they can get all four, I feel like Pop can retire then. So that's
what I say about your grandfather, Cranky, is that he's known in Mississippi, but he's also really well known outside Mississippi, and he's an outdoor ambassador for Mississippi. So when he's away from here, and now when you're away from here, you're representing Mississippi. So what I would say to you is continue to represent Mississippi in the way that you have so far, and you're blazing a wonderful trail for others to be inspired by. So keep up the good work, my friend.
Yes, sir, I will.
It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to have you back. We'll have you back for sure. Cuz, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Rick, and enjoy your holiday. I know you don't get tons of them, and post pictures while you're out there.
I will, buddy. This has been Cuz Strickland and his grandson, Ben Ellis. We know him as Cranky, and what a special show it was. We'll see you. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.